The systemic identification and cultivation of high potential children within the United States educational system has, since the mid-20th century, operated as a primary channel for national security mobilization. The Gifted and Talented Education Program, while publicly framed as an academic enrichment initiative, possesses a historical and operational architecture that aligns with the requirements of the military-industrial complex and the intelligence community. This alignment is not merely a byproduct of academic excellence, but is the result of deliberate legislative and psychological frameworks designed to harvest human capital for classified applications. Through the lens of the National Defense Education Act and subsequent clandestine research projects, the GATE program emerges as a sophisticated screening and grooming apparatus for black-budget careers, encompassing everything from advanced aerospace engineering to parapsychological intelligence gathering. The formal integration of the American classroom into the national security apparatus occurred in the immediate aftermath of the Soviet Union's launch of Sputnik 1 in 1957. This event triggered a crisis of confidence in American technological supremacy, leading President Dwight D. Eisenhower to sign the National Defense Education Act on September 2, 1958. The NDEA represented an unprecedented intrusion of the federal government into local schooling, explicitly stating that the educational system must meet the demands of national security needs. The legislation was designed to bolster the nation's ability to compete with the Soviet Union in science, technology, mathematics, and modern foreign languages, fields considered crucial for Cold War military dominance. Under the NDEA, the identification of gifted students was not a matter of general educational improvement, but a strategic necessity. The act provided millions of dollars to state and local education authorities specifically for the testing and identification of gifted students. This program funded secondary school guidance counselors whose primary mandate was to test and identify those with superior capacity in mathematics and science. The implicit understanding of giftedness within this discourse was utilitarian. Children were viewed as national assets to be developed for the defense of the state. The NDEA required all recipients of federal student loans and fellowships to sign loyalty oaths and file affidavits of loyalty to the United States government. This requirement underscores the fact that, from its inception, federal support for high-capacity students was contingent upon their alignment with national interests. The discourse historical analysis of the NDEA reveals that the nature of giftedness was socially constructed as a tool for military supremacy, creating a precedent for the recruitment pipelines that would follow. The methodologies used to identify GATE students are rooted in the early 20th century development of psychometrics, which had strong ties to the military. Lewis Terman, often cited as the father of the gifted education movement, was a commissioned officer in the United States Army during World War I. During his service, he collaborated with other psychologists to develop intelligence tests, such as the Army Alpha and Beta, to screen over 1 million recruits. This large-scale application of intelligence testing legitimized the practice for the general public and academia, providing the tools that would later be used to screen children for GATE programs. Terman's work was influenced by Francis Galton, who pioneered the study of human intellectual abilities and advocated for eugenics. Galton believed that intelligence was largely hereditary and that the eminent, his term for the most talented, should be identified early to ensure the continued progress of society. This eugenic framework, which categorized individuals into gifted, average, or degenerate, provided the ideological basis for segregating students into specialized tracks. Lady Hollingworth, a colleague of Terman, further emphasized the importance of early identification and the grouping of gifted children with peers of similar ability, moving away from the belief that bright children take care of themselves. The transition of these tests from military recruitment to school hallways allowed the government to build a longitudinal database of high-potential assets. By identifying giftedness in the first or second grade through puzzle tests and abstract reasoning questions, the state ensures a continuous monitoring of what Galton termed the natural intellectual abilities of the population. The recruitment of GATE students into highly classified fields is a process that begins with identification and proceeds through specialized grooming. Whistleblowers and former participants have described a phenomenon of hard recruitment, where individuals demonstrating high proficiency in technical or linguistic subjects are approached by military or intelligence agencies. In some instances, GATE alumni report being recruited by the Navy or placed into political clubs, where they were taught the inner workings of government and current politics. While exact numbers are often classified, the strategic intent of the NDEA and subsequent programs suggests a high rate of transition for top-tier GATE students into the military-industrial complex. The NDEA specifically targeted science, mathematics, engineering, and modern foreign languages, the exact disciplines required for work at the National Security Agency, Central Intelligence Agency, and Defense Intelligence Agency. The case of Edward Snowden illustrates the government's interest in high-capacity individuals who emerge from environments adjacent to the intelligence community. Snowden, who grew up near Fort Meade, the headquarters of the NSA, entered the CIA and later worked for contractors like Booz Allen Hamilton despite lacking a traditional college degree. His early career trajectory reflects the intelligence community's prioritization of specialized technical skill sets and articulate communication, traits often associated with gifted profiles. The most controversial aspect of the GATE program's history is its alleged connection to clandestine behavioral research, specifically the CIA's MKUltra program. MKUltra, which operated from 1953 to 1973, was a covert umbrella project comprising 149 sub-projects designed to develop drugs and procedures for altering human behavior. The program's aims included the creation of a Manchurian candidate and the development of truth serums for interrogation. The connection to gifted education lies in the overlap between MKUltra's goals and the unconventional testing reported by GATE alumni. MKUltra Sub-Project 68, directed by Dr. Ewan Cameron, focused on psychic driving, the constant repetition of recorded messages to reprogram a subject's personality, and depatterning. Former GATE students have reported experiences that mirror these techniques, such as being placed in windowless rooms with headphones playing strange tones or frequencies for hours. Some alumni recall these sessions as induced hypnosis via gateway tapes, a term associated with the Monroe Institute's work on consciousness and brainwave synchronization. Furthermore, the pink drink, or unknown pink liquid, reported by some GATE participants as part of their weekly testing, is highly evocative of the pharmaceutical experimentation conducted under MKUltra. These reports often include claims of significant memory gaps or lapses in memory during the periods of testing, which aligns with the CIA's documented interest in chemical, biological, and radioactive materials capable of producing physiological and behavioral change. Beyond the standardized academic enrichment, some researchers and survivors allege the existence of Project Monarch, a purported spin-off of MKUltra that utilizes trauma-based mind control on children. Trauma-based mind control relies on the psychological defense mechanism of dissociation, where the mind fragments into separate alters or personality states in response to extreme ritualized trauma. Individuals with dissociative identity disorder are often highly susceptible to hypnosis, a trait that perpetrators exploit to program specific self-states for espionage or specialized technical tasks. Survivors like Alondra Markman and Kathy O'Brien have provided extensive testimony regarding being subjected to ritualized torture and mind control from birth, often within military or government installations. These individuals claim that their unique DNA and gifted intellect made them targets for these programs, as the cognitive robustness required to survive fragmentation is most often found in prodigies. The goal of this grooming is to create a compartmentalized asset capable of performing high-level tasks, such as courier work for black-budget operations, without the conscious awareness of the primary personality. The reported involvement of high-ranking military and political figures, such as Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino and Senator Robert Byrd, in these occult-themed programming efforts suggests a level of institutionalization that transcends rogue experimentation. These accounts link the rituals performed on children to the broader goal of aligning their minds with specific military or esoteric agendas, effectively creating a lifelong model, slave, or operative. The interest of the military in the latent potential of the human mind extends into the realm of parapsychology. Project Stargate, a secret U.S. Army unit established in 1977 at Fort Meade, was dedicated to investigating the potential for psychic phenomena, specifically remote viewing, in intelligence applications. Remote viewing is defined as the ability to sense unknown information about distant places, events, or objects through mental means alone. The screening for such abilities appears to have integrated into some gate programs. Alumni have reported being tested with Zener cards, which feature symbols like circles, squares, and stars to measure their ESP. Monica Lynn, a former GATE student, has testified that the program was designed to identify children who could clearly transmit and receive energy, thought, and intention. These individuals believe that the GATE program served as a primary filter to identify psychically gifted children who could later be trained for military applications, such as the remote viewing experiments conducted by SRI International under Project Stargate. The scientific rationale for these programs was often based on the belief that the potential for injury during some training cannot be conclusively ruled out. Despite the project's official termination in 1995, the observation of statistically significant effects in laboratory settings suggests that the government's interest in the parapsychological potential of the gifted remains a persistent, albeit clandestine, priority. The oversight of these specialized programs is frequently linked to elite secret societies and bloodlines within the government. Fritz Springmeier, a researcher into the bloodlines of the Illuminati, posits that an elite group rules the world from behind the scenes, controlling the entire learning process from cradle to grave. According to this narrative, 13 specific bloodlines are groomed for power, with their children subjected to occult practices and satanic rituals to prepare them for their roles in the global power structure. These esoteric connections are not limited to conspiracy theories, but find historical echoes in the collegiate secret societies that have produced many of America's intelligence and political leaders. Groups like the Skull and Scroll or the Flat Hat Club have fostered networks of brotherhood, humaneness, and knowledge among the nation's elite for centuries. However, the claims regarding GATE students involve more direct ritualized conception and satanic-themed conditioning intended to exploit psychic abilities for espionage. The use of subliminal programming in GATE classrooms, reported through the study of ancient hieroglyphs, Egyptian mysticism, and code cracking, may serve to align the young mind with these esoteric frameworks. By immersing gifted children in symbols associated with the ancient occultism of the mystery religions, the state may be attempting to unlock hidden potential that is inaccessible through traditional secular education. GATE individuals who progress into black budget careers are often involved in the study of exotic sciences or suppressed technologies. These fields include faster-than-light travel, anti-gravity propulsion, and consciousness-altering technologies. The suppression of these technologies is alleged to be managed by powerful corporations like Battelle, which work in tandem with intelligence agencies to keep groundbreaking physics out of the public domain. Whistleblower accounts, such as those from Jake Barber, suggest that some GATE students are recruited into secret programs for the crash and retrieval of UAP. These individuals are reportedly used for their high-level problem-solving skills to reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology or to establish communication with non-human intelligences. The research of Amy Eskridge, a prominent figure in the Huntsville aerospace community, further supports the idea that the government maintains a parallel scientific track where gifted individuals explore forbidden or fringe science. The link between GATE students and facilities like Area 51 or other black sites is characterized by extreme compartmentalization. These black site careers often involve work on advanced propulsion systems that utilized non-traditional physics. Amy Eskridge's testimony is particularly significant due to her position within the Huntsville, Alabama Aerospace Corridor, a major center for NASA and military research. Eskridge openly discussed the GATE program as a recruitment filter, claiming that the most promising students were tracked and eventually brought into the black budget fold. Her research focused on advanced propulsion and the idea that very serious science was being conducted on retrieved UAPs by programs under the Department of Homeland Security. Eskridge's death and the subsequent quashing of her research proposals highlight the dangers associated with exposing the recruitment pipeline. Her work pointed to the intersection of giftedness, classified military contracts, and the study of biological material of non-human origin. Her experience mirrors that of other whistleblowers who claim that the government's interest in the gifted is primarily about maintaining a monopoly on exotic knowledge and ensuring that groundbreaking technologies are never released to the public. A common theme among former GATE students who suspect clandestine involvement is the presence of anomalous memories and memory gaps. Participants recall being pulled from regular classes to undergo hearing tests involving strange tones, being given shots or pills, and working with experimental supplies that seem to defy public domain technology. The phenomenon of disappearing records is also reported, where alumni who attempt to research their own records find that they have been deliberately destroyed or disappeared once the associated research into certain phenomenon was shut down. This suggests that the GATE program, particularly in its early years, may have served as a cover for experiments that were never intended to be part of the permanent educational record. The overarching function of the GATE program as a military recruitment tool has significant geopolitical implications. By identifying the most intelligent and creative members of the population at a young age, the United States government ensures a competitive advantage in the battle for men's minds. This strategy, initiated by Alan Dulles and bolstered by the NDEA, views human consciousness as a battlefield where cognitive superiority is the ultimate weapon. The integration of gifted children into projects at facilities like Area 51, their work on faster-than-light travel, and their contributions to programs involving extraterrestrial technology indicate that the most significant scientific advancements of the modern era are being conducted within a shadow infrastructure. As the boundaries between education, military research, and parapsychology continue to blur, the GATE program remains a critical nexus in the state's ongoing efforts to master the human mind and the exotic technologies of the future. The suppression of this information, alongside the disappearing of records and the quashing of whistleblower research, underscores the importance of the GATE program to the maintenance of the global power structure and its technological monopoly.